Okay, welcome along. Just very early with the stream here. Just making sure everything's working all right, sound and everything. So we'll start in a couple of minutes. Just anyone tuned in later in the day, I would just suggest skipping ahead, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll be straight into that workout. Just in the event, it can happen if the stream were to go down, as it sometimes will, unfortunately, let us down. Technology. We'll just set up with a different stream, and that will be available straight through the YouTube channel. So just if anything were to happen during the class, we will set up and continue just from a different stream, and that can just occasionally happen. So the class is a collaboration between Siel, Bleu and the Irish Cancer Society. This is our Staying Well While Staying Home series. So just bringing you home workouts. What we do is typically in these sessions, it's a mix of aerobic and strength work. So just really keeping the body active and strong and giving our muscles a challenge, giving our full body a challenge. I will lead most of the workout movements from standing, but we can perform as much of the movements from a seated position as we like. Equally, as I say as well, and I know from some people's experience with the group, many people have just kind of picked and chosen in that you might perform the circuit once, twice, or 3 times. Everyone is at a different stage. For some of us, this might be all very new in terms of just building up strength back up. So it's just a case of slowly building up. Whereas some of us will feel really competent to push ahead with all the work in the one sitting. But if you need to break it down and split the work, over 2 points of the day, that's absolutely fine. It's really about whatever works best for you. In terms of what we want for the workout, just to have a good sturdy chair. Even though if we're leading in a standing position, just have something you can hold on to. Have yourself a bottle of water at the ready. And then finally, just if we have some weights, if you have dumbbells, great. If you have tins, bottles, and even for some of the movements, it might just be a case of trying the mechanical movement without any weights, and you can make those little changes yourself. It's always, again, whatever works best. Again, if there's anything that causes pain, just not to persist. Everyone is slightly different. So again, if there is something that causes irritation specifically related to you, just to, of course, change the movement. Don't continue if it's causing any kind of pain. And finally, my name is Shane, by the way, in case I didn't say that at the start. I've led a lot of these classes, so great to have you with us. So we're kind of tipping in towards 10 o'clock now. So I think we'll just get straight into the workout and get ourselves moving. So once again, just this collaboration between Siel, Bleu and the Irish Cancer Society. So let's get moving. Let's get warmed up. The first thing we always want to do is just get our body active and moving. So I am just going to start off with my shoulders. Very simple shrug of the shoulders. Just typically an area that's a bit tight and stiff. We'll find around shoulders, neck, back. And with all these movements, we'll have those kind of areas active. So we're just going to very lightly get the shoulders moving. Very simple shrug, up and down. I'm just going to turn to a side view as I then bring my shoulders slowly backwards in circles. Again, this is just to get as much movement as comfortable in this position. Just getting those shoulders moving backwards. I will then change direction and start rolling the shoulders forward in circles. Again, just get as much movement as is comfortable to you here. What I'd always say is just any movement at all in this position. And just to get the shoulders moving lightly here. And back in. Next, we're going to work the chest a little bit with some weighted movements today. So arms across chest and just pull back nice and wide. Open out that chest. So we're just kind of testing out these areas. Is there anywhere that feels a little bit tight or stiff before we start to load up more demanding movement patterns with weight, for example? Equally with our warm-up, we're just gradually bringing that heart rate up, warming up our body and just opening up, loosening out all our joints before we start to push harder in our main blocks of work. So just continue on opening out that chest, just lightly bringing those elbows back, getting a nice squeeze between my shoulder blades here as well. Okay, I mentioned some of that chest work, so we're just going to give a little bit of extra attention. Hands on shoulders. I'm just going to start off raising the elbows. So we might feel our shoulders opening up a little bit, just lifting the elbows up one at a time. And then progressing, lifting the two elbows up together, just lightly raising the two elbows up. From there, if I keep the elbows up, I open the right elbow, open out the left elbow. So you'll see I just kind of slowly build this one up. We just start off one side at a time. If that then feels comfortable, we can open up with our two elbows now, just progressing that one up, opening out our two elbows by our side. Just opening out that chest, connecting with our shoulders as well here. And back down. Next, just working the back of the body. So very simple, a rowing action. My arms are out. I like to physically clench as if I was grabbing onto something here and just pull back. Tuck the elbows in and I get a nice squeeze or connection with the back of my body. See how my chest just naturally rises out a little bit here. I keep the elbows quite narrow in that they're not flaring out really wide. And if I just show a couple from behind, you can see I'm getting a nice squeeze and just connection with the back of my body here. Next, bringing my hands together, thinking about keeping my hips roughly straight in front. I'll just lightly rotate to the right and then over to the left. So again, just opening up that upper body and particularly getting a little bit of a stretch in the back here and just rotating side to side and taking our time to transition from right to left. We'll just go once or twice more and back in. Okay. You're using my chair for support here. Just want to take it into a nice controlled march next, just lifting one knee up at a time, getting a little bit of height into the lift here. So you can less kind of about speed, but more about getting a nice big lift of that knee. And see, I can get roughly to about hip height here, keeping a nice strong position. And we can just use that chair for support, just to lightly guide us here. Again, if you're in a seated position, just to mimic all of these actions in the same way. What I will do next for my next movement is just to lightly curl one leg at a time behind. So you can see I just kick my heel behind, nice and light, going from one leg to the opposite side. Just lightly curling behind. And then again, we'll just return back to our nice big high knee lifts. And again, and more about a nice big lift. Opening up, connecting with those hips. Lift and big lift. And then again, just returning. Nice light curl. Again, that chair is there if you need. Might not be needed. Just lightly curling back. Bringing heel towards bum here. Just lightly curling back. Just swapping from one side to the other. It's a very subtle little weight shift here as well. Okay, and then from there, again, hold your chair if you like here. Just lightly extend right leg, then left leg. Again, just opening up in the legs moving, feeling a little bit warmer, heart rate just up a little bit, more kind of ready and prepared now to push nice and hard. Just extending the legs out. And then finally, we'll just do a little bit of work for the ankles here before we get moving into our main block. If we just bring our right foot up, slowly around in circles, just think of opening up that ankle here. Nice and slow around in circles. And then just to reverse and change direction of that movement. So I'm trying to get nice big drawing with those toes. Nice big circle and trying to avoid going too quickly here. And down. So we'll swap. Left foot up. Again, let's draw nice big circles, leading with those toes, getting nice big circles, opening up from that ankle. Might hear a couple of clicks, cracks here. Nothing to worry about, but I do try and keep this nice and slow. And then reverse, back the opposite way. And again, just keeping a nice big circles here, opening up from that ankle. And down, okay. So we're going to move in, that's our warm-up finished. Kind of like an extension of our warm-up in a sense. And we move into our aerobic block. So this is where we start to kind of really get lots of movement and energy in here. So I'm going to put our clock on. We just want to keep active and moving. If you wish to perform any of these movements in a seated position, it's absolutely fine. I will lead the movements in standing, but just to mimic in a seated position if we remain seated. And the idea here is we're kind of pushing the body, or thinking of our heart, our lungs, that we're exercising, giving our body a little bit of a challenge, equivalent to a brisk walk, being on a bike, for example, that you're giving your body that challenge, building up a little bit of endurance, that you feel your body active here. We push with a little bit of intensity here, not so much that you're breathless and unable to talk, but that you do feel yourself kind of working and active. So what I will do is I will put the clock on here. I'm going to adjust the camera ever so slightly, just that the feet are a little bit better. And now, kind of building up on last week, we were kind of adding a little bit of balance, coordination, just to really make this work interesting. So what I want to do is I want to step out with my left leg and follow through with my right arm, just focusing on those one side per of each. So how that looks: left leg, right arm. So left leg, right arm. I just want to continue with that pattern of movements. You'll see I kind of start kind of cautiously, just getting a feel for it. But then as I feel strong, I feel balanced. My upper body is strong here. My core is active. Now I can start to go with a nice moderate intensity, giving my body a little bit of challenge. Thinking of my left leg following through and the right arm as well. So just the opposite sides. So I have that arm swing in here. I'm stepping out in this split stance, so a slightly unnatural base of support when I've stepped out. So I'm just maintaining a nice, strong, balanced position and keeping the body moving and active. Anyway unbalanced, you're going to hold on to that chair as you perform the movement, okay? Just bring it back to a march and we'll reset. This just gives us a chance to slow the pace down, catch our breath if needed, and set up for the next part. So now I want to go for the opposite side. So that means my right leg and left arm. So how that looks: right leg, left arm. So just stepping forward. Again, you can start kind of slow, get a feel for these movements on the first round. That's fine. There's no pressure here. But as we go along, we'll then start to add a little bit of intensity into the movements. So you can see, think of a brisk pace here, a nice moderate pace. Stepping forward with my right leg, following through with my left arm, but really important, staying balanced and strong as I perform that movement. And if I don't, I will hold on to my chair. If I prefer, in a seated position, I will go for this arm movement and lifting the knee. So arm movement and lifting the knee instead of the step. And continuing, and then return back to march. The 1/3 movement, and then we will repeat that circuit or loop again. Next, what we're going to do is just a rotation, bringing our knee towards the elbow. Opposite side. So we might just clench the hands, bring the arms up. How this looks: rotate, lift the knee, rotate, lift the knee. You'll see here, I'm not looking for perfect touch of knee to elbow. We just go as close as comfortable here. I want to avoid bending that back. So if I just show from the side, I think more about driving that knee up with the rotation, as opposed to bending down sharply here. Again, it's important I feel balanced and strong, and just get a feel for the movement on this first round. If there's any way unbalanced, you might rest the arms down, hold on to the chair, and just go for a big drive of the knee. If you're in a seated position, the movement is exactly the same, bringing knee towards elbow. And back to march. Possibly the more powerful one there. So They are your 3 movements, broken up every time by a little bit of marching, which just gives you a chance to reset, catch your breath. So let's go again with our forward step. So it will be left leg, right arm. So how that looks. A little bit of coordination. I have to think there. I know, so if I start to give too much points here, I can kind of lose the coordination and rhythm of this movement. So it does take a little bit of concentration, especially if we're going at that nice brisk pace. Just think opposite sides active. My left leg and right arm following through. So I have that arm swing with my left leg stepping forward. And that core is active here, just that I'm not kind of rounding forward, that I feel strong and balanced as I step forward. If this is tough, slow the pace right down. If in a seated position, lift the knee and follow through with the opposite arm. And return, back to march, reset. Again, the purpose of this march is just to let you rest, catch your breath if needed. Otherwise, if it feels very comfortable so far, just continue to march at a moderate pace, keeping your body active and moving here. So now my right leg, left arm, let's go. So we're working a really nice intensity, a little bit of power in our movement. Again, we want to feel challenged, that you might have a little pant in the breath, maybe a little bit red, maybe a light sweat, okay? But never feeling pain, never breathless to a point where you couldn't communicate and you feel uncomfortable. So really important. We feel a challenge, yes, but in no way uncomfortable. In no way are we breathless. We're not pumping sweat either. So a challenge is good, but never uncomfortable. Strong and balanced as we perform this movement. Stepping out with my right leg, following with that left arm. And return, back to march. So we start to finish up our second round, again with our knee towards elbow. So we'll set that one up shortly. Strong, powerful movement again, demands a lot of the core. Slow this right down if you need. Use your chair for support if you need. Seated position, same motion. Hands up, clenched, arms up. Knee towards elbow. Again, we do not need perfect touch of knee to elbow. It's more a case of just rotate the upper body. Big, strong drive of the knee. You work in ranges that are comfortable. Never lifting so high that you feel unbalanced. And never going so fast that you feel uncomfortable. Not about matching my pace exact. I want you to set a pace that's good for you, that you feel a challenge, but you're in control. Again, I drive my knee, rotate the upper body. Trying not to sharply bend that back down. Rotation, drive of the knee. And back, return to march. 1/3 final round. If that's getting a bit tough, slow the pace down. Seated position if you need. No pressure with any of the movements. You do whatever feels comfortable to you at a pace that feels good. So we're going to go 1/3 final round of those movements. Beginning again with left leg, right arm. So you can see there that little hesitation, that little pause, because it is coordination. I had to think about what I was doing there. So left leg, right arm. So there is that coordination of the arm swing with the forward step here. And again, just that I'm remaining strong and balanced as I step out, that I don't feel wobbly as I step out, that I feel strong and in control. With a nice kind of brisk or moderate pace. But I feel in control. I can still talk, I'm not breathless, but I do feel a challenge. You can hear a slight pant as I talk. And return, back to march. Again, the purpose of this march allows you to just slow everything right down like this. If you need to just take some air in, take a sip of water. If it all feels comfortable, you just continue to march, nice brisk pace. Okay, so now we go with our right leg, left arm. Again, just stepping forward with that right leg and my left arm kind of in sync with the leg, just so we have that arm swing with our forward step. So again, it's aerobic, it's keeping our body active, moving, it's giving us a challenge, but we do have that element of balance and coordination in here as well. So hopefully a nice challenging and interesting movement for us. Again, just right leg, left arm. And we've built up last week from performing this in a static position. Now we're adding a full step into the movement. Really dynamic, really working hard, so great stuff here. And return, back to march. Okay, so again, using this time just to catch your breath, take a breather if you need. And then finally, we'll have our rotation or knee drive up towards elbow, knee to elbow. I always think of it as knee up to elbow as opposed to bringing the elbow down. Arms up, hands clenched, and let's begin. Knee up and the opposite side. Rotate my body as I drive the knee up. Again, this is a strong, powerful movement. Go at a pace that's good to you. And just avoid bending that back sharply here. What we want is a nice smooth rotation of the upper body, driving the knee up. Again, I do not need physical touch of knee to elbow. It's just a rough guide for the movement of knee towards the elbow. But I'm always a couple of inches apart here. I'm not looking for that physical touch. Challenged, working hard, but not completely breathless, pumping sweat, or in any way uncomfortable. And down. So just take a couple of seconds, catch our breaths. That is our aerobic block of work finished. Take a couple of deep breaths, relax everything down. And we'll shortly now move into our main circuit, our more an emphasis now on our strength work. Okay, so absolutely excellent work there, really good. I think nice to just get the body moving and really active at the start of that session. So really good work. Okay, so take longer of a break if needed. I'll just begin to kind of explain now the next layer of work. So now is where we will start to use some of our weights. Sometimes we don't use weights, we just use our body weight. If there's any movements that you don't like, I would always say to change. There's no kind of magic formula with the exercises or movements we pick, just that you're working, challenging yourself for the block of time. We have 5 movements. We work for about 70 seconds on the clock, and that has built up over the weeks. So we'll just slowly up the little bit of extra into it. So first thing I will do is just to demonstrate the first movement. Now we can use 2 or 1 weights, but I will just demonstrate this with the 1 weight on the first round, and we might build it up. I'm going to show you a standing version, seated version, and then we'll start the clock. So we're not starting the movement just yet. I just want to show you what this first movement is. What I will do is hold the weight up at my chest. I will step out to the right, putting some weight onto this right leg, and then press the weight out in front and return. And I will just focus on that one plane of movement first, stepping to the right. What I like about this is I can go a little bit further, put a little bit of weight through this leg, or I can just strip it right back to a very small step if I prefer. If you are not performing that movement and want to go seated, how that will look, you will again hold your weight. I want you to open your right leg out and press. So if you're seated, open the leg and press. Okay, so I'm going to put the clock on and we're going to start that. So you have your seated version, you have your standing version. I'm going to take my chair out of the way, just so I have a nice clear shot of the movement. And again, I'm just going to start with the 1 weight. If you're feeling it's too light, take 2 weights and physically bring them together like so. But we'll just start off, I think, on this first round, get a feel for the movement. So let's begin. Weight up at chest height. Keep your knees nice and soft, not too rigid and tight, nice and soft. Step out to the right in as far a range that feels comfortable. A little bit of weight to the right, and press, and return back in. Step and press. The weight stays in line with my chest, so I'm connecting with my chest as I press the weight, and I'm shifting some weight and load onto that right leg. My knee will stay in line with my toes, and I think about that I'm not rounding my body in this one. I think of my hips important here, and that I just lightly sit into the movement. So as opposed to rounding forward, I think your hips staying active and just allowing you to lightly sit into the movement. If this feels uncomfortable, as I'll demonstrate now, you can see how I can just adjust and go for a much smaller step. So if you feel there's too much load on that right leg as you step out, just strip it right back to a side step. But if we feel comfortable, maybe just progressively, we can start to put a little controlled weight shift through that right leg. I'll get one more rep. And back in, okay? Taking your second weight, we will perform that on the left side. We're just breaking it up with an arm curl in between, okay? So taking your two weights, holding them by your side. If you are in a seated position, the movement is exactly the same, an arm curl, but from seated. So holding the weights, lift and rotate towards your shoulders. So again, just lift and rotate towards shoulders. I'm going to show you a couple of reps from the side. I just keep those elbows roughly fixed in position here. I lift the weights up and rotate, turning towards my shoulders in a nice straight line every time. And make sure my upper body is straight, never allowing my back to arch to help with the movement. So I'm making sure my arms taking all the work here, curling up, back down in a nice straight line. Again, whether it's tins, bottles, weights, I like to physically clench whatever is in my hand, physically squeezing as I approach my shoulders, just to get a little bit of extra connection with my arms. Again, lift, rotate. Remember, we work for long blocks of time. There's no pressure to hit X amount of reps. You just perform as many as you comfortably can within our block of time. And rest down, okay? I take one weight out, unless you want to perform it as a double. As I said, this first round, I'm just leading it as one. So remember, this is our side step now to the left and press. And if you're in the seated position, remember that it's just opening the leg and pressing, but from the left now. So let's begin. Knees are nice and soft. Weight up at chest height. Might just start small with my step out and press. Okay, so just kind of getting the feel for putting a little bit of weight through that left leg and pressing the weight out from my chest. If at any point, if I start to feel comfortable with this, I can then go a little bit gradually, slightly further. Never going to go too far, but just putting a nice shift of weight onto that left side of my body, pushing the weight directly from chest. If that feels uncomfortable, we'll strip it back like I demonstrate here, and just go for a very much more straightforward side step. Okay, so you can adjust to whatever feels comfortable. I keep the weight in line with my chest. I keep my hips kind of soft here, and I sit into the movement as opposed to bending forward. You can just lightly sit into that position. So my knees are soft, particularly on that left side, really important, as I shift a little bit of weight to the left side of my body. And back. Okay, excellent work. What I want to do is just take my chair back in front. Taking your two weights. The aim here will be to tap my feet off the chair one at a time. If you prefer seated, I want you to hold your weight. Big lift, one at a time. Okay, so again, I'll demonstrate standing. Let's begin. Holding the two weights, lightly tapping the toes off the chair. So I'm not putting any weight or shifting forward to the chair. I just lightly tap. Make sure you feel, again, strong and balanced. So kind of go cautiously, get a feel. And if that feels comfortable, continuing on. If you need to do this movement without weight, drop the weight. If your chair is maybe a little bit awkward, maybe you just prefer a nice controlled march on the spot. If you think it's a little bit too high. Sometimes I think it's just nice to have that kind of tactical something to aim for. So I'm getting a nice big lift, working my hips, keeping my upper body strong. A little bit of extra work through our shoulders here, bearing the weight on each side. Go at a pace that's comfortable, there's no pressure. You go at the rate that's comfortable to you. And rest. Fifth and final movement of your circuit is a combination movement, working the shoulders here with a front and lateral raise, combining the two today. Again, if you prefer, you can perform this from a seated position with exactly the same motion and movement. So let's begin. Holding my two weights, arms straight, palms of the hands down. I raise the weights in front, no higher than shoulder level. Back down, set the position to my side, and raise out again. Back down, reset, and in front. So I take my time, transitioning between the two positions, raising the weights front, raising the weights lateral. If this is uncomfortable, I would suggest dropping to one arm at a time. And I'll demonstrate what that looks like. So I could just go with focusing on the right arm first, separating the movement, and then focusing on the left. And again, separating and then lateral. Unless we're still comfortable with our front and lateral. If there's one portion of that, maybe you like the front but don't like the lateral, or vice versa, absolutely change. We're just adding a little bit of extra challenge today. I like to exhale as I raise the weights, inhale as I return. And back down. So we rest. That is our first round finished. So taking a sip of water. And something I would always say, ask yourself how that felt. Were you okay with every movement? Are you breathless? Are you okay in control? If there was a movement that you just didn't like, felt uncomfortable, just to change that exercise, maybe perform it seated, maybe taking the weight out of the movement. If everything felt okay, felt in control, a challenge, yes, but in control of everything, we will just go again with that same structure. So take another couple of seconds, sip of water, couple of deep breaths, and we will begin. So moving back to our first one again, just showing you your seated option. If you prefer to do this as a leg opener and press from the seated position, so that will be your hip and chest active. If, however, we're in standing, maybe the one weight was too easy, I'll just show you now with your two weights, but you can stick with the one weight here. So weight up at chest height, let's begin. I step to the right and press. I have my two weights together here, and I just keep a nice smooth line out from my chest. Just making sure whenever we are pushing away from our body, we avoid a kind of harsh punching motion. We like a nice smooth press. Again, I can go with two weights, I can go with one weight, I can go with no weight in this position, just simply pressing my hands out in front, if I prefer. I'm putting a little bit of weight onto that right leg, so it's really important that I have a nice soft knee as I do that, and it stays in line with my toes. I exhale as I press, and inhale on return. Again, just keeping those hips nice and soft as well. Not allowing ourselves to round forward, just a nice smooth press directly out from chest. And back. Second movement, we go back to our arm curl. Again, seated position, just the same movement of the arms. So couple of seconds just to set up and catch our breath. So how that looks, holding 2 weights by our side. Let's begin. Elbows not too far back, just going lightly in by your side, or even just slightly in front here. Raise and rotate and back down. So just lift and rotate the weights. Again, just curling in a nice straight line up towards my shoulders. Exhale as I curl up. Inhale as I return the weights down. Again, just showing a couple of reps from the side. And make sure that upper body is strong. Just never allowing your back to arch. You're not giving the arms any support in this position. You want the arms to do as much of the work as possible here. So I don't allow myself to move at all here. My elbows remain in a fixed position. And I think my arms taking all the work. Physically clenching, squeezing the weight as I approach my shoulders. Getting a really nice connection through my arms. I try and keep this angle nice and straight as I go up and down every time. And back. And rest. So again, catch your breath. Drop the weights down briefly if you need. We're going to go to our side step to the left and press. Again, you can use 2 weights. You can use 1 weight. You can use no weight. Or perform this in a seated position. So there's all that choice variety there. There's no right or wrong. It's about what works for you. So weights. For me, I'm using the 2. So I bring them together. Up at chest height. Knees are soft. I step out to the left and press and return back in. Again, that left knee, really important. I keep it nice and soft as I step to the left. So I put a little bit of extra weight through my left side of my body onto that left leg, and I press straight out from my chest. Again, you can turn this into a side step. As I show here now, I can go for a much more subtle movement, or just continuing, putting a little bit of load onto that left side. Keeping that movement from your chest really smooth. Again, just that we avoid kind of punching the weight out. Keep it as a nice, smooth press directly out from your chest. Again, always exhale. Inhale, always breathing, never holding that breath during a movement. Final reps. And back in. Excellent work, okay? We're going to go back to those, let's call them chair taps. It's the easiest thing. You call them hip flex, but I think chair taps is a simpler name here. Again, if you prefer, you can perform this seated just by driving the knee up. If in standing, we have our 2 weights, but again, you could take the weights away. How the movement looks, I lightly tap. Again, just to get a feel for this one, just make sure you're feeling balanced on the first couple of reps. And if comfortable, then we can go a nice kind of comfortable pace here. Just making sure you feel balanced. If you kind of felt wobbly and uncomfortable, we want to slow this right down and maybe take the weight from the movement. Again, a couple of things here. My hip very active. There is an element of balance as I'm on one leg. When I raise, I'm holding weight through each side, so the shoulder is active and arms bearing that weight. So lots of different parts here. Quite an active movement as well. So feeling that little bit of challenge in our body. Again, it might have a pant as we talk, might have a light sweat, maybe a little bit red, but never completely breathless and unable to talk here. Still in control, but hopefully feeling a good challenge. And rest. Back to our front and lateral raise. And I'm just going to pull my chair out of the way here. So again, we have our 2 weights, and we'll focus on our front and lateral. This combination movement, just merging the 2 parts. If you want to take one of the parts out, that's no problem. Arms straight, palms of my hands down. And I begin raising in front to about shoulder height, return back down, reset to my side. At each point, I'm not looking to go above about shoulder height. If I can't quite achieve that shoulder height position, that's fine. There might be reasons for that we can't quite get to a shoulder height position. I would always say not to force it. Work with your shoulder on this. As high as is comfortable to your shoulder on each side, but not raising above a shoulder height position. Again, I have a little control at the top of the movement, shows I'm in control of the weight. And then I just reset at the bottom, opening out. Just so we don't go straight from position to position. There is that little bit of a reset. Open the hands to the sides and raise. Every time I raise, I like to exhale and inhale as I return. Let's get one more of each. And finishing with lateral. And back down. We'll let the weights down. So that's again your second round now. Really, really good stuff here. So 1/3 and final round. So let's again take a rest. Catch your breath. And again, just check with yourself. How do I feel now? Am I still in control? Is there anything that feels uncomfortable? Anything I don't like there that you want to change? That's no problem. If everything feels good, we will go again very shortly. Again, just the same kind of power effort. But if you need, as I say, at any point a break, just take that break. But really, really good work, really good intensity to this session today. So we're going to set the clock. We'll begin 1/3 final round in about 30 seconds. Again, just remember, if you're in the seated position, you don't like this side step and press, remember, you can go for just opening the leg out to the side and press. So that will really connect with your hip and chest. From standing, you can use no weight, you can use one weight, you can use two weights, whatever feels right to you. Weights together up at chest height, knees soft, step out to the right and press, and we're off. Okay, so step to the right and press. Again, make sure that right knee that you step as you step out to the side is nice and soft, and it is comfortable taking a little bit of weight. So a nice controlled shift of weight onto that right leg. Pressing the weights out from chest. And again, importantly, remembering as we press, whether it's two weight, one weight, they keep it as a smooth action, not to rush that weight out really quick. Keep it nice, controlled. Imagine a straight line out from your chest. Again, weight to that right side, pushing out from chest. Exhale. Inhale and return. And return. We move to our arm curl next. Rest the weights down briefly if you need. We'll perform our arm curl, and then we'll go for our left and step. Step into the left side and press. And again, I always say when I jumble the words a little bit, a good indication that I'm kind of active, I'm working, and it's given me a bit of challenge. So might jumble the words a bit, or there's a little pant in the breath. So that shows I'm working hard. Weights by my side. Lift the elbows, or lift the weights and rotate. Here we go again. Lift the weights and rotate. Again, I think about keeping the elbows in a fixed position, and I'm lifting the two weights up and turning them as I raise towards shoulders. So lift, rotate. All the work through the arms. I'm not allowing my body to move in any way. The only movement is from my elbows as those lift the weights up and down. So movement from the elbows, curling the arms up and down. Always like to bring the weights right back down. We get that nice big stretch as well in the position. I like to physically clench whatever is in my hand, weights, tins, physically squeezing, getting a nice connection through the arms. I keep the angle pretty much straight, so think a nice straight line up and down as we rotate and lift the weights. Final reps here. And we'll get one more. And back down, okay? Really good one, working the arms. We go back to our press and lateral step here. So now it'll be to the left side. Again, seated, standing with no weight, with one weight, with two weights. All these different choices, whatever feels right to you on this third round. What felt easy maybe the first round, maybe feels a lot tougher now. So just bear that in mind. Weights together if it's two. Step to the left and press. Again, really important, that left knee that I step onto, really soft. So I'm not rigid and tight in the position. Nice soft knee. Comfortable putting a little bit of load onto that left side of my body. So that left leg working really hard here. And getting a nice smooth press directly out from my chest. Always exhale and inhale. In terms of the press, let's keep it smooth. Again, naturally, we might tend to just punch the weight out, but we want to keep that action nice and smooth. So a nice smooth press. Again, straight line directly out from my chest. As I tire, the weight might start to drop down, but I try and keep it level with chest. Again, putting that weight to my left side, pushing out from chest. Last time. And back in. We'll set up our chair again. So, put the chair in front. Again, this will be our taps. If we prefer to do this seated, just lifting the knee, that's fine. If you want to take the weight out of the movement, again, that's absolutely fine. Always change, make it work best for you. And I'll lead with my weight. Lightly tap, lightly tap. Right foot, left foot. Again, just kind of start cautiously on the first couple of reps, just to ensure you feel balanced, comfortable with the position. If you're moving, wobbling a lot here, maybe we just want to step it back and just bring it to a march, and that's okay. If you're in a seated position, let's get a nice big lift to the knee and continuing to hold those weights if you're comfortable with that. Again, it's all these little changes can make a difference, like taking the weight out of the movement here. I'm putting a little bit of extra work through my upper body by bearing these two weights. Building a little endurance through the shoulders just by continuing to hold the weight. Hips very active. And again, an element of balance here as we raise one leg up, that we can stay strong in this position. I'm not putting any weight onto that chair. I just very lightly tap with my toes. And return. Final movement. Front and lateral raise. Our combination here, working the shoulders. And again, if I want to strip this one back, maybe seated, one arm at a time, or simply focusing on one range of the movement, front or side, you can do any of these things. So let's begin. Again, my arms are straight, palms of the hands down on the two weights. And I begin raising in front, reset, and out to the left side. Another thing that's really important here is we raise forward and lateral. Again, that we keep a nice strong upper body. At no point do we arch that back again. Again, we must stay strong here. So if you find you're having to arch a little bit to raise the weight, we might just take up a seated position instead. So I should stay strong. My shoulders control all the work here. And raise in front. Return and raise lateral. No higher than shoulder height. Just going as high as is comfortable to you. Exhale as I raise. Inhale as I return. We'll get one final time, front and lateral. and down. Okay, so rest your 2 weights down. That is 3 rounds of your circuit, so 3 rounds of our strength work on top of our aerobic work. So a lot of work done there, absolutely brilliant. Again, whatever level of that you did, whether it was seated, standing, if you had to take weights out, we really did push hard. So a really big well done to yourselves on that. Excellent work. And as I say, we have pushed things harder, very small, subtle changes over the week. So we have always made it a little bit tougher as we go along. So brilliant. What we want to do next is start the process of cooling down. So equally important, we just kind of avoid now just a sudden stop. We want to just gradually relax the body back. So you might hear there's still a bit of pant, of excitement in the breath. I want to relax that back down to where it was before I began. We're feeling better, hopefully, after all that good work as well. So a couple of light movements. I'm going to hold on to my chair and just start lightly digging one heel out at a time. Just getting a little stretch on the back of my lower leg, the calf here. So just start off lightly digging the heels out, one at a time. Just a little dig out and then a little dig out. So kind of very nice, light, relaxing movements. Slowing, relaxing the pace down gradually now. Okay, what I want to do from there is just take a nice big lift to the left knee, hold for a couple of seconds, and then doing the same on the right. I'm going to use the chair for support at this point, just to take some of that kind of strain and challenge away, because it's all about just relaxing now. I don't want this to become a balance movement or really challenging, so it's just purely slowing down, relaxing the body at this point. And nice big lift. Nice big lift. And again. What we'll do next is just lightly curl the leg back. And then on the opposite side. So kind of reversing some of those warm-up movements. Just getting a nice little hold. As ever, any kind of questions, issues, do let me know. If you're finding it easy, hard, do just let me know, as ever. So just checking in there. Thanks so much, Mary. Great. Thanks very much. Nice to get the feedback. So yeah, if you find anything too easy, hard, do always just let me know, and we can kind of make little adjustments. But really well done, as I say, whatever level of work you did in that session today. Okay, just moving up to a full hold here, and I will show a seated movement as well here. So what I want to do in standing, curl my right leg behind, if comfortable, grab the foot and just lightly pull back, stretching out that thigh front of the leg here. Hold for a couple of seconds. And then we'll swap over to the left. So curl your left leg behind, lightly grab the foot if comfortable. If it's not, you feel unbalanced, don't grab the foot here. Lightly pull back, hold for a couple of seconds. And down, okay? So I'll just move up to the upper body, but I will finish with a lower limb seated stretch. So if you found that one wasn't for you, I will show a seated stretch of the lower limbs before we finish. In standing or seated, hands together. Just lightly rotate your body to the right. Again, my hips are roughly faced in front, and I've turned my head with the movement. And then I'll go lightly over to the left. So again, I think of a nice stretch at the back here. Just going to spend a couple of seconds in each position. Taking my time to go from one side to the other, not rushing. Again, over to the right. And over to the left. And I'm just going to go once more. And just taking it nice and light over to the right. And over to the left. And down. Perfect. We did some of that work on the chest today. So let's just take a nice kind of stretch here. So if I bring my arms by my side and just lightly pull back, open out that chest position. I'm going to stay here for a couple of seconds, and if I show from the side, you'll see how my arms have actively pulled back behind me here. And then relax down. So again, just pull back and hold. And back down. Next, just going to get a nice squeeze of the shoulder blade. So if I bring my arms out, hands up, pull those hands all the way back in towards my shoulders here. Elbows are back, squeezing shoulder blades together. Okay. So then again, just relax the arms out and pull back all the way again. Squeeze, hold for a couple of seconds, and relax out again. And once more, pull back and hold, and back in. Okay, just a stretch of the shoulders next. If we bring our hands together, nice and light, hands together, right, pull the arms back just a couple of inches, stretching out my shoulders here. And relax. Again, keeping those hands together, nice and light, just bring the arms back. Let's hold for a couple of seconds. And we'll go one last time, keeping hands together. Nice straight arms, just lightly pull back and hold. Okay. I mentioned I just kind of finish off and seated, just in case any of those standing stretches weren't quite comfortable for you. I'll show this from the side. Very simple. I just want to raise my right knee up. I'm supported by my chair here. Lightly holding onto the knee and just raising that knee up towards chest, as high as is comfortable. And we're just going to stay here for a little bit of time, just holding that position, feeling nice on the lower back, my glute, my hip, just holding the position. And then back down. Just going to readjust, make sure I'm comfortable. Left knee up, lightly holding onto that knee and just gently raising that knee up towards chest. And again, I'm holding my position. Back, lower back feels good. Feel my hip, a little stretch of the glute. And let's hold that position. And back down. Okay, and then very last one, just to relax. Just ensure we feel fully relaxed. Nice big deep breath. Into your nose and a nice light exhale. Into your nose and exhale. Once more. Okay, so that's our session for today. Really well done. Again, that's a collaboration between Siel, Bleu Ireland and the Irish Cancer Society. So thanks very much for tuning in. Any questions, issues, do just let me know. But brilliant work, everyone. And have a well-earned rest after that. So I'll talk to you again. Brilliant work.